Hello dear heart, and welcome to this depression video series. So this is a take from all different perspectives and all different angles. So I welcome you and thank you so much for joining. And the reason why I share this series about depression is this is a path that I have walked, and this is something that I have experienced in my own life for a very long time. I've come across people that are still stuck in the identification process with depression itself. And I'm just here to share what has helped me, what frame of references helped me, what frame of references maybe didn't help me, and to share a little bit about my story. So the first time that I ever took an antidepressant, I was 19 years old. I was a student at the university. And I was hanging out with friends, drinking a lot. And from that perspective, I always felt like the outsider. I felt like the one that was not the same as everyone else. And through that process, I started isolating myself more, or I felt isolated even though I was surrounded by an enormous amount of people in classrooms, in social settings, in all of those things. And as I was studying psychology, what dawned upon me while we were actually learning about depression and anxiety and all of these mental disorders, I started sitting in psychology and I started analyzing my own life. I started analyzing my own traumatic responses and my own systems growing up. And from that, I first diagnosed myself with depression before I thought, okay, it's time to go to the doctor. These symptoms that I have are not really normal. They're common, but they're not normal. And this pivot point had to be realized. I had to realize that even though so many other people struggle with common factors of apathy and lethargic energy and not having enough energy and struggling to get up in the morning, struggling to get motivation, enormous hopelessness, a deep grief, a deep sadness, a deep emptiness that they carry with them all the time. It might be common, but it does not mean that that's normal. So went to the doctor and I told the doctor all of my symptoms. Once I shared that, it was really interesting because the doctor didn't really inquire what was going on in my life. He didn't even ask what was happening in my past or how I grew up. Immediately, there was a pharmaceutical drug given to me. Now, this was not my intention of going to the doctor and walking out with a subscription, but however, I did feel a sense of relief because before that, I was doubting myself and almost gaslighting myself of what is wrong with you, you're broken. And that moment that I had the subscription in my hand, that felt like such a big relief because from that point, I really felt like this is my salvation. This is the solution to all of the things that I felt before and I did not know what was wrong and I did not know how to establish myself in a world where I felt completely separated from it. So from the age of 19, I was probably on antidepressants for the next 6 years, on and off. Because the funny thing about depressants or antidepressants, SSRIs, SNRIs, valdoxan, like there's different many kinds of antidepressants, is mostly, and we see this in therapy too, right? Mostly when humans start feeling better, they stop taking or doing what they did in order to feel better. And I was a student, I was 19 years old, I didn't know anything and I thought that I knew everything at that point. So the moment that I started feeling better, meaning that I was no longer feeling the amount of pain that was making me feel hopeless, at those points, I thought to myself, I don't need this, and I stopped taking it. And as I stopped taking it, there would be this massive backlash. And that massive backlash would recur, and I would end up going to the doctor again. So I was also seeing a psychologist at that point, but I would go back to the doctor and say it's not working because I would go on the same dose. And now, because I stopped taking the treatment and went back on the treatment, they had to up my dose quite a lot. And throughout this, I just started feeling like a zombie. Now, combine antidepressants with the use of alcohol and also the use of marijuana. All of this combination was, I was using it as a crutch. Instead of just being with my pain, I was trying to escape the present moment. I get that. I was trying to escape the pain. I was trying to not feel what was in that moment. But what ended up happening was it was putting an enormous amount of pressure of suppressing all of my emotions, to the point where more than 10 years later, I couldn't feel anything anymore. I couldn't feel joy, I couldn't feel happiness, I couldn't feel pleasure, completely disconnected with my pleasure in life, and everything after that I was taking so seriously. So by the age, I was around 21 years old when I really stepped into my seeking of spirituality and seeking enlightenment, because that too for me was an opportunity to break free of suffering, to break free of the pain, because that idealistic mindset of if I am enlightened, I will be free of pain. If I am enlightened, I will be free of suffering. So that incentive really started in my early 20s, where I started seeking that to such a degree in order to escape the present moment, to escape the pain, to escape the suffering. And I created this idealistic concept for myself of what enlightenment is, and really just this idea. And it was about trying to push my depression to the side, not being with it, not feeling it, not listening to it, that I actually, I would say, to some degree, delayed my progression for a very long time. So if I can offer anyone any assistance to really just stick to feeling what is here without trying to escape this moment, and offering the direct path, because it's not out, it's inward. And then from there, you're the Trojan horse, right? We change reality from the inside out, not from the outside in. So I really hope that these videos could offer some insight into depression. I am going to offer a lot of alternative viewpoints to this. So it's not going to be just the normal routinely set of there's a chemical imbalance in your brain and you have to take chemicals in order to restore that. I'm really going to try to come at it from all different kinds of perspective. So like the video, share it with friends or with someone that you know is dealing with depression, experiencing that in their life. We all experience this to some degree. But if it becomes an outlier and we get stuck there and we are coming from that space instead of our own authentic, intrinsic, natural state of being, then I would say that becomes a perceived problem in our lives, because then we have identified with one state of our experience instead of just remembering ourselves as the ocean and there is a wave of depression within ourselves. So I hope this is of service, as I am here to serve you in whatever way possible. So thank you for listening, and I'll catch you in the next video.